if these technologies were being used for peaceful energy generation. And by the way, these same technologies that can create Havana syndrome type bad effects can be used for healing and for good effects. I mean, speaking as a doctor, I've seen this in an underground facility I went to on the Mexican border near El Paso. And I think this is another big area of exploration. But see, the reason that's secret, you open up a crack into that room, then you get all of these technologies, because they're all related. They're all related, in terms of the energy spectrum and all this sort of science. It's all part of a basket of related technologies.
Correct me if I'm wrong. You are an emergency medical doctor, correct?
Yeah.
So now just imagine if I had a device that was like a pen, but now it turns out, oh, we got into a car accident. Oh, hold on. Let me get my thing out, and I wipe this over you, and it heals you. Now I've wiped out your job with this technology.
It's like Star Trek. Yeah, the doctor on Star Trek. Yeah.
But that's what we're actually up against, is people don't know what to do with this transition.
It is. I mean, it is. I mean, I sometimes tell these stories, but I've also met with people in the classified programs managing these, and they go, this coming out, it would be if you took everything that's been invented since the beginning of the Industrial Revolution to now, 150, 200 years, choo-choo trains, all the way to what we have now that we call high tech, that isn't, frankly. Put all of that together, the implications of this area of science, technology, energy, transportation, communication, healing, medicine, what have you, would eclipse all of that combined. So it is the ultimate disruptive technology. So the good news is it's a solution to some of the most pressing problems. The bad news is it's in the hands of people who are, absolutely hell-bent on only using it for destructive purposes, and it's not benefiting humanity. So I term this the lost century. There's 100 years of lost technological, social, spiritual, biological evolution on this planet because of the secrecy. People have to realize, what are the foregone opportunities? What opportunities has humanity missed in 100 years? And what are we still missing? And that's why, the discussion of these issues in a serious way is really needs to be stepped up, beyond the dog and pony show of the fake, stuff going on in the news media and on Capitol Hill about UAPs and all that. It's just a dog and pony show set up by people trying to create a distraction from information like this that has actually been out in the public since the 50s and 60s.
You're making me wonder, now that we're talking about the medical aspect of this, and since your expertise is right here and I'm trying to decipher my experience, I sustained an injury at the South Pole and had to go to medical. And I assure you, my surgeon at the South Pole was former CIA. He was Mac V. Sog over in Laos, and he was a pilot and a surgeon way back then. He was the head surgeon on the Glomar Explorer, the Howard Hughes boat that was snatching up Soviet submarines, and he was also my head doctor at the South Pole Station for my winter season. I, in the throes of working one day, went to go move, I believe it wound up being like a 75-gallon drum of fuel or something, and I tore my bicep. The atmosphere that we were in, the low oxygen and the low humidity, I was told makes us injure
Petconomics Savings Lesson 12. At Petco, better care for your pet means more savings for you.
ourselves more easily.
Right.
And it also makes it harder for us to recuperate. So I went to the doctor, due form, and he was basically telling me my arm was shredded, that in this environment, I need to just basically try to do nothing with it and hope that it heals. And he wasn't giving me a good prognosis on that. Like he was telling me, I screwed it up badly, and because of the environment, you're not going to do well. Keep coming back and checking with me. I kind of chuckled at him because I have a history of doing well with healing, but I did respect the environment that we were in. Lo and behold, a couple weeks later, I was fine.
Interesting.
And now I'm wondering, because we were just talking about tech and things like that, and I'm wondering with who he was, the program that I'm in, compartmentalization of information, our level of remoteness, the importance of keeping me functional.
Right.
Was I just rectified unbeknownst to me by something unbeknownst to me?
Probably. It's certainly feasible. Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
a rapid heal for a torn bicep to me, especially when I didn't really stop using it that much.
Right. Yeah, well, that would not surprise me, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So I know we just have a few minutes left. Is there anything else you want to share? We have about 10 minutes. Anything else that you've learned, from this experience, or that you want to share with the general public?
I want people to reconsider the way they looked at the world up until this point. Like you're trying to impress upon everybody that, things have been unacknowledged. Things, have been hidden from us. And like myself, I was there with 49 other people that didn't see the things the way that I did at the time. Now we're having conversations and everybody's kind of going, oh, I want everybody to do that with everybody else. Any weird experience that you've had in your past, talk to those people again, communicate it, and share these stories. I mean, it's very important. I oftentimes say that, 80%, 20%, right? 80% of your life is the same as 80% of my life. Mm-hmm. We wake up, we brush our hair, you have a mortgage to pay, a car insurance, and all the same things in life. But 20% of your life is going to be very individualized to you and different. Same thing for me.
Right.
I think the vast majority of us get way too comfortable hiding that 20% because we don't know who to show it to. We don't know what fits. Right. And the world is very divisive nowadays, and it's pitting us against each other, which is horrible. We need to be accepting and tolerant of differences, so that we can learn together as a society. It's a detriment to us as a whole to not be communicating our oddities amongst our own society.
Right, exactly. And also suppressing this kind of information and experiences people have had. Yeah. By the way, speaking of that, were there any personnel there that you heard who ever saw a UFO type object in the vicinity?
I did.
Oh, you did? Oh, tell us.
I did myself. Yes, actually, I was walking back from an area they call the dark sector. It was a limited amount of wind that day, which brings up, it rustles up the snow that's laying on the ground. Doesn't really drop from the air there. So there's like a low layer of snow moving across. And I was simply just trying to gauge my distance that I had remaining to get back to the facility. And when I had lifted my eyes up a couple of degrees to get over the drifting snow from what we call grid north, the front end of the elevated station, I saw this massive fireball furrowing. There's just flames all around this thing that I could see licking all over the place. And from best I could tell, it appeared to be like what I imagine would have been like a rocky or craggly surface in my mind. But again, huge and moving across the entirety of the sky. At that elevation, there's nothing else in the field of view. So I can't even begin to imagine the distance from horizon to horizon that it was covering. But it just went across the entire sky, blink of an eye, fraction of a second, faster than I can describe. And at the time, because I thought a UFO would have been, a spinning disc with flashing lights and, bug-eyed people, waving out the window at me, I wrote it off. But in reality, it never left my mind that thing never went down. It went straight across the entire horizon. It never went down. It never changed its direction. And it was only after somebody inquired to me afterwards to reconsider that moment that I went, something, you're right. That was a controlled flight path. That was an unidentified flying object. It didn't crash. There's no way that it,
Was this daytime or nighttime?
This was the winter time at South Pole.
So it was dark, yeah.
It was always nighttime. Yep, it was dark. It was dark.
Of course. The winter, it's dark all the time. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and do you know if is Raytheon still managing that facility, or has it been passed on?
They are not. They actually, I believe, they lost the contract right after us. There was an extension during our season, and I believe it was the following year that it went to, I believe it was Lockheed Martin, and then that would fit. Lockheed, yeah, absolutely. And then Lockheed Martin got in a weird circumstance because they did something where they tried to pass it over to Leidos. which is also a very shady company. And then something happened where they like reversed that out, and now it's kind of like third-party subcontracted through PAE.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And who was Raytheon the main or contractor? Were there other subcontractors working on that came in?
Raytheon was pretty much the exclusive contractor, and they have done things differently since Raytheon has exited. They have divided it out a bunch since then.
Okay. Well, interestingly, many years ago, I think this would have been probably in the early 2000s, I met with a very senior executive with Raytheon, who was telling me how they had acquired E-Systems. The company used to be called E-Systems because, and